He was seen as a titan of Wall Street, a financial wizard who promised something that sounded impossible: steady, high returns, no matter what the market was doing. Thousands of people, celebrities, charities, and ordinary retirees entrusted him with their life savings. But behind the curtain of success was a secret so big, so simple, and so devastating that when it collapsed, it would erase billions of dollars and wreck countless lives. This is the story of the man behind the largest Ponzi scheme in history and the house of cards he built on a foundation of pure fiction. To really grasp the scale of this disaster, you first have to understand the man himself. Bernard L. Madoff wasn't some shadowy outsider. He was the establishment. As a former chairman of the Nasdaq Stock Exchange, he was a Wall Street legend who seemed completely trustworthy. For decades, he wasn't just seen as a safe pair of hands. He was hailed as a genius, the man with the Midas touch who could deliver predictable growth while the rest of the market felt like a roller coaster. His clients weren't just investing their money. They were buying a ticket into an exclusive club, a circle of financial security that was the envy of everyone else. And for a long time, that club seemed like a dream come true. But the price of admission was a lie, and the bill would be paid in ruin. Bernie Madoff's story starts like many do. From humble beginnings in Queens, New York, in 1960, he started Bernard L. Madoff Investment Securities with a few $1,000s he had saved from working as a lifeguard. He built it into a hugely respected and powerful firm pioneering electronic trading. That part of his business was legitimate, innovative, and very profitable. But that is not what made him infamous. His real fame came from his other business, a secret and exclusive wealth management service. This was the part of his firm that quietly catered to rich families, charities, and retirees. And it came with a promise that was just too good to pass up: smooth, low double-digit annual returns that rarely, if ever, showed a loss. In a world of market crashes and volatility, Madoff offered a safe harbor. He told clients he was pulling this off with a complicated-sounding strategy called a split-strike conversion. It supposedly involved buying a basket of big-name stocks and using options to hedge against potential losses. Madoff didn't advertise. You had to be introduced by someone already in. This exclusivity wasn't just marketing. It made his investors feel special, like they were on the inside with access to something nobody else had. They weren't just clients, they were believers. Here is the thing. The split-strike conversion strategy was a total fabrication. It didn't exist. Madoff wasn't trading stocks or options for his clients at all. He was running the oldest scam in the book, a Ponzi scheme. The concept is so basic, it is almost comical. You take money from new investors and use it to pay returns to the earlier investors. As long as fresh cash keeps flowing in, you can keep the illusion of a profitable investment going. Here is how it worked. An investor gives Madoff $1 million. A year later, their statement shows a handsome profit. If they wanted to withdraw some of that profit, Madoff would just skim it from a new investor who had just handed over their life savings. The paper trail looked perfect. The returns were always positive, always steady, and the account statements his firm mailed out were entirely fake. This simple lie was hidden behind a wall of secrecy. The investment business sat on a separate floor from his legitimate trading firm. If anyone asked to see trade records, Madoff would get evasive, creating a false aura of complexity, as if his methods were too advanced for others to possibly understand. That, plus his powerful reputation, was enough to bat away questions for decades. For decades, this house of cards stood firm. Madoff's fraud grew to an unbelievable scale, with fake account statements claiming clients held a massive $65 billion, while the actual amount of cash stolen was closer to $17.5 billion. The illusion was everything, and his victims weren't greedy or naive people. They were sophisticated individuals and institutions. The victim list reads like a who's who of culture and finance. Actors Kevin Bacon and Kyra Sedgwick lost millions. A charity founded by Nobel laureate Elie Wiesel was wiped out, losing its entire $15 million endowment along with Wiesel's personal savings. Major banks, hedge funds, and universities were all caught in the web. They fell for it because of powerful psychological triggers: First, there was the halo effect. Madoff was a respected former Nasdaq chairman, so surely he had to be trustworthy. Second, there was social proof. Your friends, your colleagues, and your most trusted advisors were all invested and cashing in. The fear of missing out became stronger than the need for due diligence. But there were warnings. As early as 1999, a financial analyst named Harry Markopoulos saw the red flags. He did the math and realized Madoff's claimed returns were statistically impossible. Markopoulos figured out that to pull off the alleged strategy, Madoff would have needed to trade more options than actually existed on the S&P 500 index options market. He sent detailed reports to the US Securities and Exchange Commission, practically begging them to investigate. In a 2005 report, he titled it, "The World's Largest Hedge Fund is a Fraud," but he was ignored every time. Official investigations later found serious incompetence at the agency, which failed to act and allowed the scheme to grow even bigger. This failure of oversight is a huge part of the story. It is a chilling example of how, even with clear warnings, the power of a good reputation can let fraud grow right under our noses. It is also a reminder of why you have to do your own homework. And now, a quick word from our sponsor, who helps you do just that. Like all Ponzi schemes, Madoff's was a ticking time bomb. It just needed a spark to set it off. In 2008, it got a massive one, the global financial crisis. As markets around the world went into a nosedive, panicked investors did the only logical thing. They tried to pull their money out and hold on to cash. Madoff's clients, thinking they were safe in his steady fund, started asking for their money back. At first, it was a trickle. Then it became a flood. They requested billions of dollars in redemptions. But there was a huge problem. The money wasn't there. There was no giant vault of cash, no portfolio of stocks to sell. The new investor money, the lifeblood of the scheme, had completely dried up in the credit crunch. The machine ground to a halt. On December 10, 2008, trapped with no way out, Bernie Madoff sat his two sons, Mark and Andrew, down in his office. They worked on the legitimate side of his business and had become suspicious. He confessed everything. He told them his investment advisory business was one big lie. The very next day, his sons went to the authorities. Federal agents arrested Bernie Madoff at his Manhattan apartment, and the largest Ponzi scheme in history finally came crashing down. The fallout was catastrophic. When the dust settled, an estimated $17.5 billion in real money was gone. Thousands of people lost their life savings. Retirees who thought they were set for life were suddenly left with nothing. Dozens of charities and foundations had to shut down. The human cost was immeasurable. People lost their homes, their security, and their faith in the financial system. The trauma was so profound it tore families apart. Tragically, Madoff's son Mark died by suicide exactly 2 years after his father's arrest. His other son, Andrew, publicly linked the constant stress of the scandal to the return of the cancer that later took his life. For his crimes, Bernie Madoff pleaded guilty and was sentenced to the maximum 150 years in federal prison. The judge called his actions extraordinarily evil. Madoff died in prison from natural causes in April 2021. In the years since, a massive recovery effort has taken place. In a rare success for this kind of case, 2 separate funds, one run by a court-appointed trustee and another by the Department of Justice, have managed to recover and return a remarkable amount of money. Combined, they have distributed well over $18 billion to tens of thousands of victims worldwide. While the phantom profits are gone forever, this effort has paid back a huge percentage of the actual cash people lost. The story of Bernie Madoff is more than just a crime story. It is a powerful lesson in the psychology of trust, greed, and willful blindness. Madoff didn't succeed just because people were greedy. He succeeded because he was a master at exploiting a basic human desire, the need for security. He sold the dream of a world without risk, and people desperately wanted to believe in it. The single biggest red flag was always right there in the promise itself: consistent, steady returns no matter what. In the real world of investing, that simply does not exist. Every investment has risk. And anyone who tells you otherwise is either lying or trying to sell you something. When it comes to your money, skepticism isn't cynicism. It is self-defense. So what part of this story shocks you the most? Let me know in the comments below, and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that shape our world. Thanks for watching.